Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for tuning in to today's webinar, Successful Remote Learning Strategies for the CTE Classroom. My name is Emily Klinsky. I am on the marketing team here at RealityWorks. I'll be behind the scenes assisting our presenters today. Today presenting, we have Denise Dubois. She is one of our product managers here at RealityWorks. She's been with us for a little over 10 years and is she's a frequent presenter, trainer, blogger, all things related to Real Care Baby and other facts and soft skills products. She has over 20 years of education, marketing, product design, and curriculum writing experience. We also have 3 guest panelists joining us. We have Rhonda Evatt, health science instructor at Anderson Institute of Technology, Alaina Tharp, facts instructor at Tri-Valley Local Schools, and Krysten Dane, facts instructor at Glencoe Silver Lake High School. All fantastic resources for today's webinar. Before we get started, I do want to go over a couple of things. First, today's presentation is being recorded and all attendees will receive a link to that recording, as well as a copy of the PowerPoint slides we'll be going over. You should see that in your email within the 24 hours after the webinar. We will have time at end for a Q&A section. Please feel free to write in your questions in the Q&A session or the chat feature down at the bottom of Zoom. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pass things over to Rhonda to get us going.
Hey everybody, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. Hey, I'm glad that you guys could join us today. I know that each of us have a limited amount of time. So I'm really just going to dive in and kind of tell you a little bit about why your classroom can benefit from using Google Sites for a class website. So I'm going to move on to the next slide and, well, let's see. There we go. All right, this is just a little bit about me. There's a lot to know. I've taught a lot of different courses throughout health science. I have also been very active in our health science educators and the National Consortium for Health Science, and I've just had a lot of great opportunities and I've learned a lot from some great people too. One of the reasons I like to use a class website is because we can organize all of our information. You can have separate pages and you can really set these things up just however you want to. It does not take the place of my Google Classroom. So once we have a lot of lessons and a lot of grades and announcements that start flowing through Google Classroom, even if you use the titles for the different sections, it still gets very, very cumbersome as you get months into school. So it never fails. Students lose forms and students lose worksheets and they can't remember where this was or that was. And so I use my class website as a place for them to kind of go and just go page to page and look for specific information. You can set it up to where anyone outside your district can access it. And so it's just a great resource. The kids and parents seem to love it a lot. It does sound hard. And when I first started doing it, I was overwhelmed just thinking about it. But we actually had to create a Google site at my former school as just part of our professional development. So once we got in and just got started, it was very, very easy to do. And one thing about it is you can just create a basic outline. You don't even have to start using one right away. You can just kind of use it for announcements or this, and you can layer it and build into it over time. So it's something that you can always improve on or take a step out of, and I believe that it'll benefit people in so many ways. I am going to show you how to do it. We're going to go ahead and go there immediately, but I did leave this in the slides just so you would have step by step to do it. And I also left the link in there directly to my site so that you could kind of refer to it if you'd like to. So I am going to move, let's see. All right, do you see my website there in front of you? Nope. I've got to stop sharing and come back and reshare again. Where is the share screen? All right. All right. Can y'all give me a thumbs up in the chat room if you see my Health Science 1 website, please? Just make sure. Okay, great. Thanks. All right. So this is, I'm going to move my chat box out of the way so I can talk. All right, so yeah, these are some great pictures of me, aren't they? This is something that I did a very simple design, and I just added pictures into each of these layers. So I'm just gonna go through mine real quickly and show you how it's laid out, but then I'm gonna actually build a site from the very beginning, just in about 5 minutes, to show you what all of the different tools are. So this is just a little bit about me, and and by the way, it's not really 100% ready for school to start, so there's still some things I need to do to update it. Because we're coming back with 3 districts within my career center, none of the districts are doing things the same. And we don't know if right now we're coming in Monday through Friday face-to-face, but we don't know how long that will last. We don't know if other districts will pull kids out. We don't know what's going to happen. So I'm trying to get as much information up front as I can. So this is where I put my main information, and I actually plan on putting a big roll around up at the top. And this just talks about what their fees are, when their fees are due. And I gave them instructions here. Here's my email. I will come in once I receive my rosters, and I'll put all of their information in to join Google Classroom and all that stuff. So here's my email if they need it. But I actually gave them some instructions on how to sign their syllabus and any other forms that they need for the beginning of school. I gave instructions on how them and their parents could sign it digitally and just email that back to me. So I'm hoping that works. This will be my first time trying that. This is going to be my, these are going to be my calendars. So you can hyperlink things, meaning it's going to be a highlighted text that when you click it, it will take you to that link, or you can embed things. And so this is what I've done here is I've embedded these. And that's just the difference between a hyperlink and embedding things. And it's very easy, and they're really good about it. So I'm just going to flip through some of my sub pages. So this is general class information, class resources, and I'm just going to scroll and show you how mine happens to be laid out. Here's again another link if they happen to need the calendar. Here's going to be all their class codes when I have that roster populated. We have district guidelines for e-learning, and I have my own personal guidelines for e-learning. So right here is just embedded that Anderson 5 form that all of them can look at. If you were to click on this, it would open it up. And what I've done here to take out a bunch of the words is I really pretty much copy and pasted my syllabus into these different categories. And one of the ways you can add questions is going to be to do this drop-down window and expand. And so these are my daily classroom procedures. We're still waiting on final schedules to put some stuff in. So as soon as, if they don't care about classroom procedures, they just want to know about what unit we're on or what we're going to be studying, they can come here and they can jump down here and see what all I'm going to need from them. So this is how I did that. It really, the syllabus can be so overwhelming that I want them to be able to, I actually do a scavenger hunt, a website scavenger hunt, and I ask about 15 or 20 questions that are somewhere within my website. So that'll happen within the first couple of days of school, and I'll have them go and find things. So the next one I have is just going to be my class resources, and that's going to be general. These are links to my drug of the week. That's their whole list. They can click here. Medical terminology for the whole semester, they'll get a whole list. It'll be here, and same for careers of the week. And this, if they come down here, these are our textbooks. These are some other websites I use. And that way, if they forget to bookmark them, or maybe I get a kid 5 weeks into school that's a new student, I can send them here, they can bookmark. These are also things that I've put here for them to do, to use for presentations. So it really kind of helps them think outside the box of a PowerPoint when we're doing presentations. My fourth page is going to be, oh, I skipped one. This is my anatomy page. These are some practice sites, and these are the individual units I'll cover. I have to transition these to drop-down windows. So these don't have any information in them right now. And just to show you, this would take them straight to this little practice site that I have here. So, let's see. All right, there we go. So I'm going to go to, units of study. And these are drop-down windows. And I would go over and I would have hyperlinks to here, any of the stuff that they needed to use, worksheets or practice quizzes or whatever. So anyway, that's a little bit of an overview of my site. I didn't do this overnight. It started off very basic, and then I would add to it and add to it. And I just spent a little bit of time there doing that as well. And this e-learning right here is going to be where I kind of house some of the other e-learning stuff, because it really is so big, it needs to be separate. So anyway, that is how, that's what mine looks like. So what I'm going to do next is we're going to build you a site. So this is using Google Sites. So another really good site, if you don't have Google-based education, you can use the site Wix, W-I-X, and it's very, very easy to use. You just need to make sure that you have your district's approval to use that. So if you could, just because sometimes it messes up my, screen if I'm screen sharing and I change browsers. Could you guys possibly go ahead and thumbs up to show me that you see? All right, thank you. All right, I have 4 minutes to show you how to do this. So again, we're gonna go through it pretty quickly. All right, and I did see a question about putting my website up there, and I will do that. Google Apps, you're gonna go to, click here, and you're gonna go to Sites. Now, I put these steps in the PowerPoint. That was the last slide I was on. So these are some that I've played around with. So you can do a blank site, or you can do a class site where it's just kind of already done for you. You can just change some pictures. But I'm just going to do you can do a student portfolio site's actually a great idea for professional portfolios. So here we are. Here's your blank page. And over here is where you're going to see all of the tools that you can use. And I just want to throw out there that I don't keep my chat window open because I get distracted. So anything that you've put in the chat after I moved on to the next one, I'm going to answer your questions, but I know I have 3 minutes. So here is where we insert text boxes. This is where you would embed. You could copy and paste the link into this embed. So you can do by a URL or an embed code. So you can do anything like that. You can find the picture that you would like to be in this page title. And you can pull it from Drive. You can choose your layouts. And every time you're going to go to add another page, this is where you would go to. Now you can set your themes up to in the very beginning. You can just choose from a few of these. I want to say that I used the Vision. That's how I used mine. A lot of people get crazy and use all their Bitmoji stuff, and a lot of people actually just put all their information on the front slide just to get started. They don't even add sub-slide or sub-pages. They put everything on the front page. So you can add your pages here. You can hit plus. It would add a new page here. It would ask if you want to house it and all of those things. So you could, these are all the things you can add from the main insert tab. So when you hit insert something here, okay, I double clicked and this is what it gives you. So this is just a little dial. This is to add text, a photo, and embed in it, embed something from your Google Drive or something from your computer you want to upload. You can choose layouts, you can do whatever you want to do, and just click on it to let it go. So I'm going to title my page. I have 1 minute left. Evatt, and I'm going to save, and I'm going to put my site here. And if you want to add different levels, you can just come in and just add a different collapsible text or an image carousel, and there's all of the information you have. I know it's a lot in a small amount of time, but it's something you can work on in your spare time. And it's time for me to stop sharing my screen. So I'm going to look in the I'm going to mute myself, and I'm going to look in the chat room and try to answer some of your questions. And I sure appreciate Reality Works having me.
All right, thank you, Rhonda. Right now we're going to switch over to Alaina. And if you could just give me a verbal yes, I can see the screen, Emily, that would be great.
Yes, Denise, I can see that screen.
Okay, great. And just a reminder, for all of the questions that you're putting in the chat, we will have a comprehensive Q&A at the end. So we will get your questions answered. So I wanted to make sure you knew that. So at this time, we are going to turn it over to Alaina Tharp, and she is going to share some new strategies and ideas for us for remote learning. So Alaina, you can go ahead.
Hi, and thank you for having me. I am going to have to mute myself here in about 4 minutes for just a second as I'm at school. It's our day 2 with students, so we will be dismissing. But I'm going to go ahead and get started as much as I can. So if you want to go to the next slide. So a little bit about me. I took the non-traditional route to FCS. I actually have an alternative license, but I guess that really hasn't stopped me doing what I love to do. I always knew I wanted to teach FCS, but when things around where I was from, a lot of schools were cutting it, and I went a different pathway, but still ended up where I'm at. So I'm going into my 4th year of teaching family consumer science and being an FCCLA advisor at Tri-Valley High School. I do offer courses, food science, culinary fundamentals, global foods, child development, career and college readiness, and personal financial management. Go ahead and go to the next, please. Okay, so the first thing I would suggest doing is just connect with your students and connect with your students' families, or I call them their support teams. To do this, though, you need to set up communication platforms that work best for you and make sure that you're comfortable using them. I have used Remind for the past 4 years, and that's what I feel really comfortable with. My son's school uses Class Dojo. I've seen people using Class Tag. I've seen people using S'more. There's all kinds, but my suggestion to you is just to get there, get it figured out, and be very comfortable using it so that you know how to use it and your kids know how to use it as well.
Alaina, are you there, or have you muted? Or one moment, please. We're having some tech issues. It might be that they were dismissing the kids and there was a tone that's going on. At this time, though, I would invite Rhonda to unmute herself and just answer a couple of the questions you had late in your session while we wait for Alaina to return.
Okay, I'm here. Sorry, I wasn't expecting that.
Okay, so have you had a chance to look at some of the questions that were in the Google chat, Rhonda, for your session?
Yeah, I actually just threw my link in there, and
Okay.
I am going through, can you make a Google site webpage per student? I believe, yes, they can each do it with their own Google account, and they can just make it private to them. They don't have to publish it anywhere on the web. You can do those in your settings. So if they do a Google site for like a video project, then they can make that private for sure. This is not Google Slides. It is, it says from Mary, I don't have Google Site. You may need to scroll down when you hit that little 9 dots or the pancake. If you don't see Google Slides, then keep scrolling down and it'll say more, and you can choose it from there, because mine shows up top because I use it a lot, and so it shows up in my most used. You can keep scrolling down and click add more. I'm sorry, I'm going. Thank you, Rhonda. Make sure we get, here's my class website. Sometimes administrators need to open Google Sites for you. They did my school. Okay, yeah, and that may be true.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Looks like we've got most of your questions answered then regarding Rhonda's session. I'm going to ask if Alaina has returned. Alaina, are you on?
Yeah, sorry, I got kicked off.
Okay, great. Well, we're glad to have you back. So you go ahead, continue.
Okay, so I was saying that you just need to set up something to be comfortable. Oh, and there's the bell. Told you it would happen soon. So what I like to do is, you know, this is day 2 with our students. We're still kind of getting used to it. I have kids that are coming online as well, like live, as well as kids that are going to catch up on recordings. And I have kids in the classroom that are all happening at the same time. So I think definitely connecting with the home and the support team is definitely important, because you're going to have kids from all kinds of different backgrounds, learning capabilities. and just having that home support and letting them know what's happening so the parents aren't, well, I didn't know that was happening, or I didn't know they had something due. It's just important just to connect. I don't say skip your student, but include your student in that. So make a big bridge that has everyone connected. One thing I learned this spring was to set office hours that are flexible. So we have students, I would
Alaina, I think you cut out again. One moment and we'll wait for Alaina to come back to us. In the meantime, if anyone has any additional questions for Rhonda, if you want to put those in the chat, again, we'll make sure that we get those answered for you today. We want to make sure everybody is comfortable with the Google information that Rhonda shared earlier.
Hey, let's see, Bonnie, yes, Google Sites is free. Ellen, I did a basic website that just kind of had my basic information and the links to my midterm list and things like that. I did that, I don't know, a couple of hours maybe, just doing a basic one. And then like if I would be sitting in somewhere where I could just have access to my computer and be multitasking, I would add something here and there. And I see another, one thing that you need to make sure you're doing is if you put a document in there that you're pulling in from your Google account, it needs to be, you need to make sure the share settings are open, just like you would with Google Classroom. The difference being that if you're gonna put something for just the students to access, then you need to make sure that it has open sharing permissions for that. And let's see what to search for. Nothing comes up. All right. So if you were, gosh, I don't want to just screen share because she may hop back on.
I'm back.
Oh, hey, you just interrupt me and we're just filling in time till you get back in.
Sorry, I don't know. I switched to my other classroom, so because I had students in my classroom, and I don't know if there's just not good Wi-Fi or what, but I've been on Zoom all day and have had no issues, and then today, of course.
Okay, let's go ahead and continue with the connect section that you were on.
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would have kids that would be on like 2 o'clock in the morning. They'd be sending remind messages, they'd be sending emails, and we live in a generation that they want that instant feedback, and if you didn't answer them, they'd send you another one. So this year I really set, if you're at home, you can reach me between, 7, 10, and 3 o'clock. And then also you can send remind messages up until 9 o'clock. And then I have my notifications turned off after 9. So I'm not getting any notifications with them. I would also say to set time to connect with each student individually. So right now, I think we maybe don't do that as much if we see them in person. But my kids that I have online right now, I've reached out to them already. What's a good day where you and I can just talk? So I have a prep period or lunch where I can kind of connect with them and just say, hey, how's it going? What's going on with you? What kind of stuff can I do what can I do for you to help you learn? One thing that my kids really liked this spring, and I'm planning to have my FCCLA chapter do it and host it, would be family game nights. So we would do Name That Tune. I started off with just my students, trying to get them engaged a little bit this spring when they were bored sitting at home. And it turned out to be a huge hit. I'd have parents dancing in the background, and then it almost kind of broke down any barriers, and parents were a lot comfortable, I think, with addressing things. They were able to ask questions, and it also kept them in the loop and in the know of things. Next slide. Okay, be consistent. So find out what works and use it. No need to change or introduce new platforms or, learning tools every day or every week. So these are 3 that I'm going to be using for sure. We're going to be Zooming. We're using Google Classroom, and we're using Nearpod. The only one I've decided to add would be Flipgrid. But this way, in past 2 days, my kids have gotten to use all 3 of these learning management tools, and they know how to use them. They've submitted things, they've practiced with them. We've been in Nearpod, we've participated in Nearpod and everything. So I think that's a good practice to do, is teach while you're introducing them so they're familiar with it as well. Next, please. Okay. Also establish a schedule. So every morning when they come in, and if they're joining on online, they're going to see this exact same little morning board. I'm going to use a calendar. Make sure you're using the calendar on Google Classroom so it still pops up there. Plan and keep students and their support team in the know. So again, back to my newsletters, that way students and their teams know what's going on. You know, if they have an assignment that's coming up, the parents know about the assignment. They know ahead of time what's going to happen and what's going to be due. Okay, so this was probably the most fun I've probably had this summer, was just trying to figure out how I'm going to engage these kids. Rethink what you're already doing. Use virtual experiences, have virtual guests come in. You might actually find that you're able to connect with more people than you typically would connect with in the typical classroom. We have, you know, those schedules where people just can't leave to come join us. But if we have virtual, so have someone come in, Zoom in, they can talk to us. Virtual experiences, like for food science, I have one set up that we're going to be going to a pig farm so they can see where their bacon and ham comes from. Also get creative, and then also again use your students' home support team. What do they have at home? What do they have? What kind of supplies? What supplies do they need? Can I prepare those supplies ahead of time? So some of my students, especially my child development students, I'm preparing kits with them that have Play-Doh in them. They have any type of art material or finger paint, just stuff that they're going to need to complete. And then for foods classes, I'm not able to send ingredients home, but every Thursday they're going to get the weekly newsletter that also includes the recipes and the shopping list for them for the next week. Okay, so how am I going to do this in child development? Make use of things that they have at home. Everyone has toilet paper rolls at home, or at least they should, because we were all buying it up like crazy a couple months ago. But turn those into craft or learning assignments. Connect with hands-on stuff. One of my things that it shows a picture of is teaching the 5 areas of development with the 5 little monkey songs. So typically what I would do is they would color those monkeys and make finger puppets. If they don't have a printer or you can't get it to them, just have them draw little smiley faces on their fingers. The cloud picture is going to be one I really can't wait to do, because we look at what families look like to them. So when we look at a cloud, think clouds can look like different things to everybody, so do families. So that one can easily be done. Coffee filter butterflies, that can represent how the environment affects you. So how much water you put on there, it's going to determine what that tie-dye look feels, or what it looks like and how it bleeds with the color. So it also looks at how the environment affects the child. So those are 3 things that can be easily done at home with supplies that they probably have at home. Next. Okay, foods courses. I've kind of opened up and gave open-ended labs. So I'm going to give them like principles of things that we're going to be learning. So I want them to think outside the box when it comes to the application of skills. If I want them to learn about roasting vegetables, maybe in class we're roasting broccoli, but you can roast several vegetables. So in my mind, I'm thinking, here's what I want you to learn. If you don't have these supplies, what do you have at home that I can help you fix or help you get to that principle or that idea? Also provide lab alternatives. So again, not all students are going to have the same thing. They're probably not going to all have the same resources that we have here at school. Kitchens may look a lot different in households than what we're used to. I just think that we just have to be really flexible with it. I have kids here at school. My labs, I've already told them, they're going to look a lot different. Usually I have 3 to 4 in a lab, and this year they've actually cut our class timing down just a little bit, and I'm not allowed to have kids share food, so it's going to be one-on-one in the kitchen. All right, go ahead and go to the next, please. Okay, careers and finance. So these ones I kind of gave me the most trouble when I was thinking about how am I going to do this. With my careers though, I'm going to cash in on those virtual aspects. Having those speakers, what better way can we teach job shadowing maybe than by virtual? There's a couple sites that I found that offer virtual job shadowing. There's lots of sites that offer virtual college tours now. And then we can also hit hard on that web etiquette. How are you supposed to conduct and act when you are on the internet? Also, with personal finance, I'm planning to use something that is going to turn my classroom almost into a business, so they're able to manage money. So I'm going to kind of gamify it. Students are going to get paid, and they're going to, for turning things in. If they turn them in on time, they're going to get a set amount of money, kind of like point-wise. Turn in late, you're going to get less money. And then what I found, what I'm going to plan to do is make different brackets. So if you want to do an assignment, I won't say it's an easier assignment, but maybe it's a twist on an assignment, you can purchase a bracket or a different assignment to do compared to what you would normally do. What I've learned the past 2 days is flexibility is an understatement. Life happens. We went from just take attendance to people that are in your classroom to, okay, now you need to take attendance to the people that are physically in your classroom and that are live. And then halfway through the day, don't do people that are live, just physically in your classroom. So it's completely crazy. And our kids are learning just as much as we are. And yesterday, I think I looked at them at 5th period and I said, so how is it? And they just were like, it's just so overwhelming. So just be flexible. Provide different means of assessment and instruction. Again, not all students are going to learn the same. What I've kind of been doing today and yesterday was just kind of figuring out what those kids like to do. So today and yesterday, I've given them a lot of stuff that's been on Google. We've been practicing, so that way they know. Tomorrow, I'm going to kind of back off and say, do you want this printed? Do you want to be able to do this on Google? You're going to have students that prefer printed material much more than just doing Google. I found that out last year when I was using a personal finance curriculum that was able to be put completely on Google Classroom. The kids looked at me like, Mrs. Tharp, can we just write our answers on paper? We'd rather just do paper and pencil. And yeah, sure. I'm that kind of person. I like to be able to see, touch, make notes. So just being able to provide that, if someone can't turn something in a certain way, just kind of have that open. Also develop a flex plan and stick to it. So my kids have no idea about this. And I don't plan to really tell them this, but in my head, and I have it written down, and I have a sheet made up that if a student comes to me 48 hours in advance and says, hey, I am not getting this assignment, I've been working on it, I'm not going to be able to have it turned in when it's due, I'm going to allow them for 48 extra hours. I'm not saying the day before it's due or 10 minutes before it's due. You need to let me know that, hey, you're having troubles or you need more time 2 days in advance. So I'm planning to use that. I'm going to keep notes on who's doing what, how many times did they use this. After the second time, I'm going to say, hey, it's not going to work. You got to have it turned in. You need to learn some responsibility and get it. But we have to also look at life happens. They may not have a device at home where they're able to reach and be able to work on their stuff as often or as frequently as we had thought or planned that they could do. So that's my biggest piece of advice, is just be flexible and just go with it. Our students here have been it's been crazy. I feel like the students are supporting the teachers a little bit. Yesterday, for the first day, I couldn't get my smartboard and stuff to come on. They're like, it's okay, just breathe. And I'm like, all right, thanks. So it was a good idea to have the kids just, reassure you that we're all in this together. Okay, so if you want to connect, I have my email on there. We have a classroom Instagram that's also on there. Please feel free to reach out. I'd love to talk to people. I'm the lone person in my district and almost in my county. So just kind of, need people to bounce ideas off of. So definitely connect with me. Yes, I can share my child development stuff and food stuff. Just go ahead and send me an email, please, and we can get a hold of each other.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Alaina. And now we're going to move on to Krysten and listen to the ideas she has to share with us today. Krysten, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Krysten Dane. I'm the Family Consumer Sciences teacher at Glencoe Silver Lake High School. This is the start of my 9th year teaching. I am the only teacher that we have in the district for FACS. I teach everything from infants, toddlers, school age, housing and interior design, fashion merchandising, living on your own, creative foods, and exploratory careers class, as well as junior high classes that explore all different parts of FCS as well. I have a bachelor's in FCS Ed as well as a master's in Family and Community Services and certificates in early childhood education and early childhood special education. You can go to the next. Today I'm going to talk about 4 essential keys that I have found from my remote instruction experience last spring, as well as preparing for the upcoming school year. I found that communication, organization, relevancy, and adaptability are the most important aspects of online instruction. First and foremost, communication. Establishing strong communication with parents and students from the very beginning will help in so many ways. I have already actually reached out to every single one of my students' families that will be coming into my class this fall. Doing this really sets the stage and shows that you're invested to their child, and it opens a line of communication for the future. Attempting to maintain normalcy as well as cater to social and emotional needs is really important. I found that students enjoyed daily video announcements, whether you're doing them live or maybe you're pre-recording them to give them directions for the day. This also helps the students that need to hear the instructions rather than read the instructions, and they also can repeat the videos if they need to. I use the ClassTag app. So this is a free app that anybody can use. It's keyed towards parent communication, but I also add my students into this app as well. You can send out class-wide announcements. You can send individual messages. This translates into over 50 different languages, which is really helpful if you have a diverse population at your school. My favorite part about this is you can see who's read your announcements. It tells you which parents have, which parents haven't. They can reply directly to the announcement, or they can send you a private message. They can access it through a desktop or a smart device. And it's integrating with Google Classroom more and more. You can do all of this without sharing your personal phone number. So I have the app on my phone. I get their messages directly to my phone, but they don't have my personal cell phone number. I also use social media as a tool to connect with my kids as well as our community. I have created a classroom Instagram and Twitter account. I use them to share things about what's happening in our classroom, send out reminders and announcements of upcoming things. This helps to gain community support, and it also motivates students to put in their best efforts. They like seeing the feedback and the likes and comments from their parents and the community as well. Moving on to organization. The more organized that you are, the easier distance learning will be for students, for families, and for yourself. If you are able to put out a weekly or even longer plan of assignments that also includes the due dates, this is really helpful for students to plan and allocate their time. Putting all of the information into one place, as you can see, that's just a snapshot of one of the calendars that I put out for my students. I put them out by the month. I also share those calendars with families so they know what to expect and know what's going on as well. By taking the extra time up front to plan out an entire unit or a monthly calendar, I'm more able to use the daily instruction time to reach out and connect with students, to answer their questions, and to offer help and support. This method was really well received by parents and students, as they could plan ahead and complete work when it fit into their schedule. Go ahead. Relevancy, creating meaningful learning opportunities that students can see the benefit of is really important, especially during this time. If they can see how they're going to benefit from the lesson, they're going to have increased engagement and put more effort into it. With this, it's also important to assess what resources students have. Not everybody has the same resources available at home. They don't necessarily have the same guardians or parents available to help them at home. So you need to figure out what each student needs and how to get them what they don't have so they can complete the task at hand. Some examples are like for foods classes. Obviously, students are going to eat, but I don't know what food they have in their pantry at home. So I provide a resource that they can log in online, enter in food items that they have, and it'll kick back a resource or a recipe of you can make this with the food items that you have. Or for specific food labs, I measure out and prepackage all the ingredients for each student and send them home. Project-based learning is huge in FCS. It's really easy to do in FCS, but it encompasses a lot of skills and offers opportunities for differentiation. So I set the skill or the content that I want the students to master. I put out a rubric of how it will be graded, but students get to pick how they demonstrate, such as they might make a project, or maybe they'll choose a test. Maybe they want to write an essay about it. So allowing for customization is a really useful part of project-based learning. Other examples of making relevant learning opportunities, students learning skills like sewing on a button, designing their dream bedroom, including budgeting for expenses, giving students the project, and allowing for choice. Lastly, adaptability. Setting clear expectations is really important. It's a good setting stone to start the year. This is what I expect from you. This is how you need to do things, but make sure that you're flexible to student needs and situations. I personally choose to allow students to submit any assignments throughout the week up until midnight on Sunday before it's going to be a missing or late assignment. Students are allowed to work ahead on the calendar. So again, I'm just asking them to figure out what fits best in their schedule and complete the work then. Students are encouraged to do video check-ins with me as well as participate in class-wide Google Meets to still feel like they're an involved part of the class. There's no single strategy that works in every classroom for every teacher and for each student. However, flipped learning is adaptable to your style, methods, and circumstances. So I really emphasize that the focus is on the learning rather than the timing of when it gets done. So if a student needs more time, I am happy to work with them and offer them more time to help them master the content. It's the teacher that makes the difference, not the classroom. Online instruction is challenging for everyone. I challenge you to use it as an opportunity to grow professionally, to try new things, to practice empathy, to give grace, and to rise up to the challenge because our students deserve it. Here's my contact information. Throughout the slides, there was also my classroom Twitter, Instagram. This is my email. I'm happy to talk more with anybody that's interested about any of the information that I have given, and I will check the chat box after I'm done here.
Thank you, Krysten. We really appreciate it. And I've just got a few other things to consider when you're teaching in a remote learning environment. First of all, there's all sorts of combinations that can work in order to teach in a remote learning environment. For instance, you can prepare a lecture on any CTE topic. Now, this could be delivered on live or audio taped and videotaped. If you have a simulator or something like a task trainer or model, this could also be used in the lecture for demonstration purposes. Then the next level would be, you could pair that with presentation slides. Again, if you already have some of the hands-on resources that you use when you're teaching in person, you could take photos or you could shoot videos using these resources and you could embed those in your presentation slides. Then you could add activities and integrate those into the presentation, or you could do that at the end of the presentation. This could also provide some sort of assessment as well. And then the activity could be a written activity. You could pair it with some sort of experience using a hands-on learning tool. And then of course you could also add a research component, giving your students the opportunity to go deeper into any topic of choice. We wanted to share some additional resources for you to consider that we have available. First of all, we have a lot of different free career exploration lessons. The link I have on here is more than just health science. We've got some for health science, FACS, ag, welding, many other ones. So you can just go to our website and look for those. Most of those are a 1 week unit, all unrelated. career exploration lessons. We have a Reality Works blog that we continually update. We invite new blog writers. Many of them are instructors with new ideas to share. Sometimes if we have new product launches, you can also read about those on our blog. But if you haven't taken a look at that, that might be also another good place to go for some classroom ideas for this fall. We are very active on social media, Facebook, we've got that up there. Also, we are on Twitter. Again, we're finding that instructors use that as a forum to share ideas and things like that. So you might want to check that out as well. And then in addition, we have a series of free webinars that we do every single month. Some are specific career cluster related, whether it be FACS, health science, ag, but we also have some that go across any of the CTE lines, and those are on our soft skills. So we have free soft skill webinars that are upcoming, and then every webinar that we do, we also archive, and they're available after the fact on demand for anybody to listen to after the fact. So just a few resources that we wanted to make sure that you were all aware of. So we've thrown an awful lot at you in these 45 minutes. And again, I want to really thank our three panelists today for sharing some of their very best ideas for remote learning. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Emily. She's been watching our chat box, and she's going to now be going through some of the questions that we have not got to already. So Emily, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. One of the questions that we received while Alaina was talking was, can you share what website you use for virtual job shadowing?
Yes, I am trying to pull that up right now to post in there, but I can send it out. If anyone is interested in it, just go ahead and just send me an email and I will get that to you.
Awesome. And then another one that keeps coming up for Krysten is, what website do you use for the recipes?
There are a few different ones. The one I can remember off the top of my head is called Supercook.
Okay. All right. And then another question for you, Krysten, was, do you have any PBL project plans you're willing to share?
I do have some, depending on what content or what class you're looking for. I have lots.
Awesome. And then Denise, you might be able, and Rhonda might be able to help out with this one. I teach students with intellectual disabilities. A major component is daily living skills, getting dressed, using the bathroom, making a sandwich. Any resources specific to serving that population that you're aware of?
This is Denise. I am not aware of any, but again, I'm not a classroom FACS teacher teaching that content. So if there is anyone out there that does have some, you could put those in the chat, or you could also email those to us, because we will be following up this webinar with an email where you will be receiving a recording of the recording link, the certificate of participation, and we can also include any of the other information like that in that email. So if anybody has some good suggestions for those life skills for special needs students, please feel free to send those to us.
I have, this is Rhonda. I do know that in a lot of school districts, and it's not known widespread for some reason, a lot of these students that have problems with ADLs should have an occupational therapist and a speech therapist that make rounds through the schools and actually work with them on that. So that might be something that the school counselors or social worker could request, because a lot of these kids don't get to make it to their therapy appointments because they're in school or their parents don't have transportation. So they just kind of stop going to therapy, and they can have occupational therapy, speech therapy come in and work with them on these things.
Awesome. And then we do have a question. Did your district give you permission to set up Instagram and Twitter accounts? Many school districts block those social media accounts.
I think that was directed to me, but yes, my school actually has a school-wide class or hashtag that everyone's encouraged to use. So a lot of staff and administration have Twitter accounts and Instagram accounts, and we all follow each other and post stuff about school happenings on there. So yes, but it is really important to check with your school before you decide to do that.
And I'm looking through here. There's a lot of chatting going on, so I'm just kind of reading through. We do have a question. Any ideas or resources for the hard trades with hands-on training?
That's the million-dollar question right now with CTE. By nature, it's so very hands-on, and when you've got to do it all remote. In some of the areas, some of the teachers I've been talking to, they're trying to do as much pre-teaching or as knowledge-based teaching online as they can, so that at some point when the students are back in school, and we think at some point that's got to happen for some of the CTE areas, because you have to use hands-on to learn some of the things, that they can just maximize that time to really do the labs or the practice of the skills. But it's difficult. So if anybody, again, has any suggestions for places to go and you'd love to share those with us, we will pass those along.
Awesome. And then, yep, everybody will be receiving a link to the PowerPoint slides as well as a link to the recording. The panelist emails will also be included in the PowerPoint as well. We do have a question.
Rhonda, I'm sorry. I saw a question to me with the Keeping It Real tab.
Yep.
That tab is for, because the first, that entire page and the page before it are nothing but rules, paperwork, guidelines. And so at the very end of that, I just kind of, in Keeping It Real, I just kind of want to reinforce to the kids and to the parents that we're not in the military. So there's a lot of details so that there's no questions. There's a lot of, guidelines so we all understand each other. But we're going to have fun and we're going to do a lot of crazy stuff. And they're probably going to laugh at me more than anything. But, having these guidelines is what allows us to all function and not have discipline problems. So Keeping It Real is just kind of like, hey, what I want you to know about the class is this. But these are the things that we all kind of need to keep in focus at the same time.
Awesome. And then there was another question, delivering the instruction for OT, PT via distance learning. Any suggestions for that?
Yeah, so in my thought process, when that question was asked, I was thinking within the schools. And so if you're talking about, and this is how I'm interpreting it, if there's a child who is 100% distant learning that needs assistance with these things, then they should be able to, through their social services, have OT and PT and speech therapy or whatever come to their home doing home care. That's got to be a very real thing that they're getting on a regular basis. So if we're talking 100% distant learning, going through social services and the guidance counselors and those things, they can actually have those services in their home a couple of times a week so that they don't lose strengthening and they don't kind of regress back to where they were before. A lot of them depend on on school to be getting their therapy. So just kind of reassessing having this therapy in the home. Sometimes the parents don't know who to call, or they're working 3 jobs and they don't have time to mess with it.
Thank you. And I'm seeing questions coming in about the chat. I will see what I can do on my end, if I can send it out to everybody, or I can, Susan, I do see your chats coming in for that. I'll send it over to you as well. And then I'm not seeing any other questions coming through. A few comments. I'll give it a couple more minutes.
I put in the chat links to some college links, and I also put in a online career resource that has a whole bunch of free, and there's a couple paid career, I guess, resources where you can do some job shadowing and things on there. But I also put college ones, so the Evatt is nice. You can actually go on a tour of the school, so virtual reality 360. They have a lot of the colleges from around the United States, the big ones. So those are nice for the kids to be able to see and do as well.
And then Does anyone have any PBL projects for or health careers?
I might have some on my school computer. I didn't teach that class last year, but I did the year before.
I have some of those that we just recently, I was a co-author to the National Health Science Consortium Enhancement 6.0. Myself and Katrina Haynes wrote that. It came out a couple of weeks ago, and there's an entire humongous section of the different healthcare career resources and those kinds of things in there. There's a lot of virtual stuff. There's a lot of projects on careers. We just kind of crammed a bunch of stuff into that section. So that you can go to the NISHE website, and I know Denise knows how to get that information out as well, but there are a lot of resources for that as well.
Emily, I see we're coming up almost on in an hour, and I know we have to let everybody go back to school.
Yep.
So given that, I'd really like to thank everybody for your participation today. I know it's a crazy time with school starting and everything. I'd like to thank again our three presenters for sharing all of the wealth of information and your experiences with us. For anybody who is participating, if you have more questions, you have all of the contact information for each of the individual presenters, and you also have RealityWorks contact information, so you can also reach out to us after the fact. So again, thank you all for participating today. We really appreciate the time, and we just wish the best for you as you go into this fall. It's probably going to be a school year unlike any other. So we wish you all the best.